The chairman reveals to Ikaruga the Lost Matrix, the sole remaining cell of a dark elf, which the alchemist company are close to cloning to make weapons. Ikaruga, whose family created her through genetic engineering to work for alchemists, declares this to be impossible since the cell has been missing for years, but the chairman reckons she knows where the cell is hidden. Meanwhile, the 35th platoon do not have enough credits to pass the school year, so while brainstorming ideas to earn credits, Ikaruga announces she is taking a leave of absence, but Takeru finds it strange when she says goodbye, as she has never said it before, and everyone realizes Ikaruga has been acting abnormally all day. Elsewhere, scientist Isuka Sujinami, who betrayed alchemists and now works for Valhalla, talks with Haunted about her most recent failure in resurrecting the Dark Elves. Isuka then receives a telepathic message from her sister Ikaruga. As such, Takeru and the girls follow Ikaruga, who disappears into the sewers. Ikaruga informs Izuka she actually has the cell and will trade it to her if she is allowed to observe all future Dark Elf experiments. It is also revealed that Ikaruga was about to be executed by alchemists, so she stole the cell and fled to continue her own experiments in private. However, Takeru and the girls get lost and are almost hit by the mafia. They then rescue Ikaruga from mercenaries hired by Isuka, but the two end up separated from the others. With him wounded, she takes him to a nearby safe house and warns her sister if the platoon are destroyed, she will destroy the cell. Meanwhile, the chairman is informed by alchemists they never authorize research into resurrecting the Dark Elves, and concluding the laboratory doing so has gone rogue, gives the chairman 150 new dragoons to help thoroughly destroy the lab and all its research. Gathering every knight and witch hunter at his disposal, the chairman declares war on the rogue laboratory. Oka, Mary, and Usagi are held prisoner at the lab and are interrogated by Isuka, who is surprised Ikaruga managed to make friends. A flashback then occurs, and it's revealed that as young child scientist, Ikaruga began to question her purpose in life and created a baby wood elf, which she named Canaria after she called her mama. Concluding she would be disposed of for creating a wood elf with no magical powers, she stole the cell and tried to leave Canaria, but she had already been taken care of, and Isuka chose to stay at Alchemist. As such, she enrolled at the Anti-Magic Academy, where any attempt by alchemists to retrieve the cell would be akin to declaring war on the Inquisitors. Takeru then asks her why she wants the Dark Elves to return, and Ikaruga responds by being sussy, and since she might be ended soon, she wants to experience the deed. Suddenly, our duo are interrupted by the arrival of alchemist helicopters, and promising Takeru they would have to have the deed later, she claims she loves him and kisses him before drugging him so he can't follow her. Meanwhile, the girls are freed from the alchemist lab but resolve to break back in to rescue Ikaruga. Before they can, they are stopped by the chairman leading his army to war and gives them weapons and authorizes the use of their relic eaters. Takeru then activates Lapis, removing the drug from his blood, and equips his witch hunter armor and sword. As he battles his way past the alchemist-controlled dragoons, the chairman begins his attack on the lab. Takeru is then joined by Oka, while Usagi and Mary smite from a distance. Inside the lab, Isuka reveals that after Ikaruga escaped, she was modified by the scientists to be more focused and make her feel pain whenever she experienced an emotion, ensuring she wouldn't turn out like Ikaruga did. Rather than hand over the cell, Ikaruga wants to destroy the Dark Elf project and escape with Isuka like she wanted to 4 years ago. However, Isuka hits Ikaruga in the leg, demanding she hand over the cell. Ikaruga then reveals her experiments with the cell-produced nanomachines, which she implanted in her own body to alter her DNA into copies of the DNA within the cell. She activates her nanomachines and is transformed into a Dark Elf, and using Dark Elf magic, she creates an antimatter bomb and threatens to destroy the whole lab to save Isuka. Now almost overcome with the pain of her emotions, and on the verge of agreeing to leave, they are both attacked by Haunted, who hits her. Outside, Takeru and Oka are running out of magic, and the relic eaters are shutting down, and Usagi is also nearly out of bullets. Enraged, Ikaruga sets off her bomb, destroying the top floor. She then attempts to heal Isuka with her nanomachines, but they are still imperfect and thus fail. Meanwhile, Isuka, before she perishes, reveals that Ikaruga's wood elf baby, Canaria, is still alive and with Valhalla. Haunted then summons a mechanical dragon to destroy the building, but Takeru saves Ikaruga from falling and then works with Oka to distract the dragon, while Usagi shoots it with a wall-mounted railgun. Oka is injured, and Takeru's relic eater runs out of magic and shuts down before he can finish the dragon. However, Mary quickly transfers her magic to his sword, and the dragon is defeated with his final blow. Ikaruga resolves to keep fighting now as she knows Canaria is waiting for her. Takeru promises to help and pats her on the head, which she enjoys while crying over losing Izuka. With Ikaruga back at the academy, the platoon plan an undercover mission to prevent the black market trade of artifacts. She doubts that girls can handle the mission as it involves going undercover in a gentleman's club, where they would have to entertain guests. Regardless, at the club, Ouka struggles to deal with the male customers, including their target, so she punches him, but they had the wrong target all along. They manage to arrest the real target, but Ouka feels sad she made a mistake. It turns out that the confiscated magical ring is almost worthless. However, Ikaruga suggests it might contain a love spell, causing the girls to argue over who should test it, ending with it getting stuck on Takeru's finger. The ring actually contains a spell of drunkenness, causing the girls to become drunk. Usagi then talks like a baby and advances on Takeru, and Mary cries over Takeru only liking big honkers and shows him her own. Ouka becomes extremely happy and also advances on Takeru. Meanwhile, Lapis sits in her chair with the hiccups as Ikaruga becomes extremely romantic toward Takeru, but vomits all over him. The next day, they head to the beach to discover how the weather has been manipulated to cause summer to last far longer than is natural, and Ikaruga reveals she hates summer weather. Takeru insists on having some fun, but Mary and Usagi become jealous when Lapis sits on his lap during the entire bus ride. Later, their investigation goes nowhere, and they end up changing into swimsuits and playing beach games while Ikaruga sulks in the shade. Takeru then rushes to the bathroom with a stomach ache while the girls notice an injured boy who was attacked by a sea monster. Lapis confirms it is a rare magical sea hare with the ability to extend summer indefinitely. With Takeru stuck on the toilet, Ikaruga passed out from the heat, and Ouka unable to swim without sinking, capturing the sea hares left to Usagi, Mary, and Lapis. Lapis suggests fishing and attaches Usagi and Mary to a fishing rod. The giant creature appears and takes Mary and Usagi with its tentacles. With Takeru recovered, he activates his witch hunter armor to save the girls, but ends up sinking from the weight of the armor. While underwater, Lapis turns the sword into a fishing rod, which he uses to capture the sea hare. Ouka then deactivates Mary's Gleipnir necklace, and she uses her magic with his fishing rod to launch the sea hare onto the beach, defeating it. With her mission over, Ouka buys the girls ice creams as a treat for defeating the monster without her. The next day, Takeru visits his younger sister Kiseki, who is being kept in a maximum security prison. Although she enjoys his visits, she has a brother complex and appears jealous he has so many female teammates. He's visibly upset that his sister is forced to wear chains and is kept permanently sedated except for when he visits. Meanwhile, the platoon apprehends several criminals, earning a lot of points. Takeru then has a hallucination of the two students that Haunted had clapped in the arena and realizes Kyoe is still alive and now works for the chairman. The chairman then visits the prison and watches Kiseki being woken up, and he reveals she has a demon body, and anything she touches is dissolved and then absorbed by her body, which causes her demon body parts to grow out of control. Eventually, she would consume the whole planet. To prevent this, she must be routinely destroyed and brought back to life in order to cut off her demon body parts. As visits from her brother normally improve her mental stability, but after hearing about his new female teammates, she becomes upset and unstable. Her power surges and she transforms into a horned demon and begins absorbing her restraints. The chairman's subordinate Kuragain enters her cell to subdue her, but she cries out for her brother. On another mission, the platoon track an extremely dangerous wizard to his hideout, but they're discovered. Takeru is then forced to chase him, but the wizard is destroyed and absorbed by Kiseki, who escaped prison and tracked Takeru by his heartbeat. Discovered by the girls, Takeru draws his sword and almost attacks them when they see Kiseki. After calming down, he reveals she's his sister and has the highest threat level for a witch on the entire planet. He promises to keep her from harming his friends, but the chairman sends Kuragain to capture her. While she sleeps, Takeru explains Kiseki eliminated many people as a child, but only because her power forced her to when she felt threatened, and she's normally a very sweet and shy girl. Ikaruga helps by explaining she likely suffers from overflow syndrome, where witches not from a witch family, whose magic spontaneously appears, cannot control their magic. Normally, this can be overcome by wearing a Gleipnir necklace like Mary, but Kiseki produces so much magical energy she overloads the Gleipnir and becomes a walking natural disaster. Takeru sadly admits the best thing to do is hand her over to the Inquisitor, so Ouka suggests he take an hour to bond with his sister, and the girls dress her in a nice outfit so they can go on a sibling date. The two then have a nice time, and Kiseki asks Takeru for a favor. Takeru then promises to do anything she wants, but she asks him to end her. Kiseki reveals that her power has been getting stronger and will usually try to grant her wishes, especially those that include death and destruction, which frightens her. She wishes to perish so she can't harm anyone anymore, but Takeru refuses, saying he will always protect her until the day she loses all control, at which point he will die with her. Meanwhile, Valhalla members Orochi and Canaria, who now goes by the name Miss Watery, learn that Kiseki, who they had been planning to break out of prison, has escaped and planned to capture her. The two were then attacked by Kyoya and Yoshimitsu, who try to end her. However, Takeru activates his Relic Eater to protect her, but realizes Yoshimitsu is actually Kyoya's Relic Eater in human form. Their fight is interrupted by Kurogane, and Kiseki is arrested and fitted with a Gleipnir. Takeru apologizes for not protecting her and promises to visit her in prison, so she makes him swear to keep their other promise before collapsing. For helping her avoid capture, Takeru is placed in solitary confinement, and the chairman tells him that she'll be moved to a secret alchemist facility with the hope of finally suppressing her powers. Meanwhile, Miss Watery attacks the airplane transport, but it's a decoy and Kiseki is actually on a truck. However, the truck is attacked by Valhalla Dragoons. A flashback then occurs where Takeru had discovered his little sister in a storehouse near their home and learned from his father that every daughter from their clan for generations were born as demons and ended at birth. But every generation produced more powerful demon girls until eventually Kiseki was born fully immortal. Eventually, she escaped the storehouse and ended their father, but Takeru made a choice to always protect her. In prison, Ouka thanks Takeru for making her life more peaceful. Later, they are released by Nagaru, who reveals Kiseki was attacked by Valhalla, so everyone from the platoon helped Takeru escape. Kyoya and Kurogane are then attacked by Orochi, but Kyoya flees with the truck, but decides to end Kiseki for being a heretic. Takeru arrives and realizes Kyoya has been driven insane by his relic, who took the form of Yoshimitsu to increase his desire for revenge. After a brief fight, Kyoya is overwhelmed, so he escapes. The chairman, watching from nearby, laments that Takeru does not yet understand. Kiseki's power acts to grant her wishes, and due to her wish to be ended by Takeru, she will remain immortal until that time. Suddenly, Haunted attacks, desiring Kiseki to spread chaos everywhere. Seeing Takeru hurt, she loses control and begins absorbing everything. Kiseki then continues to grow throughout the city, absorbing buildings and people as she goes. The chairman watches and is joined by alchemist chairwoman Suzuka, who's Isuka and Ikaruga's childlike mother, who orchestrated the entire situation to watch her go out of control and determine if she has any scientific value. She and the chairman wager on whether Takeru will finally end his sister. Nevertheless, to save Takeru and defeat Haunted, Ouka finally formed a full contract with her Relic Eater Vlad, unlocking her own Witch Hunter armor. Haunted is then knocked into Kiseki and absorbed. Ouka and the wounded Takeru flee with the other girls, but end up trapped by Kiseki's growing body. In his dreams, Takeru is confronted by Lapis, reminding that when their contract was first formed, he promised to give up what is precious to him to achieve his goals and abandon his humanity in exchange for power. She then kisses him and begins to eat his soul in exchange for unlocking his God Hunter mode. Kiseki's body begins to split apart, releasing flying demons into the sky to attack Ouka. Takeru suddenly awakens, wearing much more powerful armor, and forcibly deactivates Ouka's Relic Eater, telling the girls to get to safety before his soul is fully consumed and he is no longer Takeru anymore. Ouka begs him not to take on the burden of having finished his own sister, but Takeru leaves to find her. Before he can reach his sister, he is attacked by Haunted, who resisted being absorbed, determined to take her to Valhalla. While they duel, she begins to blame Takeru for not ending her years ago, allowing her to become a monster. However, he expresses his wish to save his sister and to go home with his friends. Kiseki wants Takeru to live happily but also to die with her as he promised, and the conflict causes the demon bodies to begin to break down and she disappears inside them. Takeru finally defeats Haunted and throws himself inside Kiseki's body, where he finds her and pulls her free, separating her from the growing demon bodies, which dissolve and disappear but cannot bring himself to end her. Meanwhile, Valhalla retreats and Orochi admonishes the chairman, who is revealed to be over 150 years old, for trying to use Takeru to reignite an ancient war. Takeru feels guilty. He has only condemned Kiseki to more suffering in the future, but the girls all assure him that no matter what, they will always be there to carry half his burdens.